Hello, everybody. This is the Friday edition of Tao of the Day. You know what that means? I won't be around over the weekend. And I actually reached out to Paul this weekend, so I probably won't be doing a talk on Sunday either. Just because, you need some time. Sometimes you just need to step away, and I'm taking some advice from my buddy, Dr. Rao, and we're not going to come back. We're gonna spend the entire weekend just being in Tao without talking about it. We're just going to be in the present moment. We're not going to be doing anything like that. So as the Friday edition, I'm coming on a little later so we can kind of pull in some of our Pacific time people and see what we have in store for us today. So the Tao, if you are not familiar with the Tao Te Ching, it's an ancient text written about 600 BCE, and it consists of 81 chapters of just text to help us live a more reasonable life. So if you have a number between 1 and 81, come on up, pick a number. We'll go through it. It's very much like reading a tarot card or something like that. The number that you pick often relates to things that are going on in your life, or relates to things that you need to kind of focus on at this moment. And then how can you approach that in a more reasonable way? How can you approach that in a way that is more um, I don't know what the word is. Reasonable is probably the best word for it. How can you approach it with just more understanding and more depth and more distance? Like when we get caught up in the emotional sort of ups and downs of the things in the world, we often just can't put it all together, and we get burned out, we get frustrated, and then we have to pacify. And and now we're in this cycle. We can find ourselves in this cycle of getting emotionally distraught and then having to pacify. And that process can happen without us even noticing that we're emotionally distraught. We can just be hiding little things. We can be living under the influence of our parents. We can be living under the influence of the food that we ate earlier today. And that can often move us into a state of wanting to pacify even more. And then we get into this cycle. And as we're in this cycle, we get further and further away from who we are, get further and further away from living in a reasonable way. We find ourselves trapped in this cycle, find ourselves not being able to find a way out of the cycle of just influence and pacifying, influence and pacifying, influence and pacifying. So when we move towards the space of recovering to who we are it's more readily available to us, the space of living in a reasonable way. Meaning that I am not going to respond to you in a way that is not reasonable. I'm not going to ask you to change for me, but I am going to ask myself to change the expectations I have coming into this, change the expectations that I have around this situation. So if you have a number between 1 and 81 you want to pick, definitely join me. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and pick a number. I've read these so many times, but I still don't know all of them. Like, I couldn't tell you what 16 says, but I am going to pick 16. And this relates to this is interesting. So one of the things that I have run across. Thank you, Ashley. Hope you're doing well. If you have a number between 1 and 81, definitely join me up here, and we can chat a little bit about the Tao. So one of the numbers that I picked recently was like, stop thinking and end your problems. Right? I forget what number that was, but here I am picking number 16, and this number starts with empty your mind of all thoughts. Let your heart be at peace. So I definitely, Ashley is going to join me. I'll return to 16. Ashley, how are you?
Good morning.
Hello.
How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Good, thank you. I actually don't have a number, so I thought I would pop in for the one you had chosen.
All right. Well, we'll cover 16 together.
Sounds good.
All right, wonderful. So let's start with just reading it through, and then we'll get some ideas about what you think, and then we'll go through it line by line.
Okay.
Empty your mind of all thoughts. let your heart be at peace. Watch the turmoil of beings, but contemplate their return. Each separate being in the universe returns to the common source. Returning to the source is serenity. If you don't realize the source, you stumble in confusion and sorrow. When you realize where you come from, you naturally become tolerant, disinterested, amused, kindhearted as a grandmother, dignified as a king. Immersed in the world, in the wonder of the Tao, you can deal with whatever life brings you. And when death comes, you are ready.
I like that one. That was a good pick.
That is a good one.
I think it speaks to the fact that um, when we're not thinking, when we're in anything other than an observational state, that's when we're in our ego and not in our state of being in the Tao. And I think when we see the turmoil around us through other people and are just observing it, we don't have to stress or worry about it because we know that they are still part of the Tao and will return there eventually, regardless. And I think that speaks to, the grandmother state and stuff, how we would be.
Yeah, kind-hearted as a grandmother, disinterested,
Yeah,
right? I really like that word of disinterested. It's not like
yeah.
you don't care, but you're just like, oh, wow,
It's
wow, like, all right,
unaffected.
yeah, I'm just
Yeah,
observing it.
yeah. I think that's really cool because I think a lot of times, we take on life stressors or other people's stresses that aren't our own. And I think if more people learn to be in more of an observational state, it doesn't mean you can't be there for them. It just means you're not allowing it to affect you and your well-being.
Yeah, and I think we can, and like, and I know this is true for me at the very least, that when I'm an observer, I can do more. I can do more good over the, and I don't even want to call it good. I can be more present when I'm
Mhm.
not overly emotionally invested in what is happening. Like if I can be an observer of what is happening, then I make choices that are infinitely more balanced and infinitely more like beneficial to the whole.
Well, it's kind of like when you're thinking, you're seeing it from a higher perspective in a sense, because, like you said, you're not affected by it in an emotional stance. So your emotions, your human side of you, your all those things aren't getting in the way. The things that you're ingrained with, all those things that we all have when we're in an observational state, all that falls away and you're just seeing it for what it is.
Yeah. That reminds me of the phrase like, you can't see the forest through the trees. Like, you want to make sure that you recognize that this is a forest,
Hmm.
and there's lots of trees here. And if you get caught up on one tree, you're going to be missing like the fact that this is a forest. And you're going to be like sitting here trying to save this one tree while every other one might be dying. And it's like,
Yes.
or, like every other one is supporting it as well. And so like there's this ability to just take that step back and observe it.
Yeah, it reminds me of I love the symbolism of the eagle because or even the owl, they usually have it in totem poles, usually towards the top of the totem pole because it looks at things from the observational state. It kind of looks down upon everything and sees things from a perspective of where it's not affected, like the other animals would be being on the ground in amongst each other. So
Yeah.
they can just see things for what it is and then make you know, their their observations or their opinions based off that.
Yeah. Beautiful. Like what yeah, this is a really nice one. And as we start to go through it line by line, it starts with empty your mind of all thoughts. Let your heart be at peace. And I always like to bring the first line and the last lines together just so we can remember that they're
Mhm.
connected. Sometimes it takes us through a journey and we're like, oh, that's nice. Here's this thing. So empty your mind of all thoughts, let your heart be at peace. But the last line is immersed in the wonder of the Tao. You can deal with whatever life brings you, and when death comes, you are ready.
I
So that,
love that. That's
yeah,
cool.
that's the last line. But how do we get immersed in the wonder of the Tao? We go back to the first line. It's
The
empty your
silence.
mind
Yep.
of all thoughts and let your heart be at peace. That will immerse you in the wonder of the Tao.
Yep. That puts you exactly where you need to be. And I love that it says in the beauty of peace, because to me, that silence, that observation state, that is the true essence of beauty and serenity because you're not being affected. You just are. You're just
Yeah.
seeing everything for what it is.
Right. And after that let your heart be at peace line, watch the turmoil of beings, but contemplate their return.
And that's hard to do. That's hard to, and I find it hard because I'm the type of person where if I see someone, especially someone I care about, being hurt, it's hard for me not to be like, a mother bear and, want to bite whatever, go
Right.
after whoever's hurting them. So it's hard. Or you
You
see
want to
like,
help.
yeah, so it's hard, but I understand like you give better advice or better, you can be there better because sometimes listening is all they need.
Hmm.
And just being there and really just allowing them to sit there and have a place they can go to and not have to worry about you being affected by it emotionally either is a healthy thing for them. And it teaches them sort of a healthy practice that helps bring them peace when they're going through that turmoil.
Absolutely. I mean, I come out of addiction. I don't know how much you know about my story, but I got 21 years clean and sober. And a large aspect of like the reason that I have that is because a person like showed me just this amount of respect that was just, they asked me really kind of point blank with a lot of love and without expectation of my answer. They were like, is this working for you? Is this where you want to be? Do you like that you're doing this? Ultimately is what they asked me.
I
And
like that though.
yeah, and although it took me 7 years from that point to get sober, it it started me on the journey of self-respect and self-observation. They asked me a question of, hey, have you looked at this?
Because
It was
it gets you to answer the question too, not
right.
them telling you what to do. But
Right.
congratulations, that's actually really amazing.
Thank
That's really big to be able to
you.
do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and this idea, like that person didn't see my turmoil and anything about it.
Mhm.
He
They
just
just wanted you to see it from a different perspective.
right, and he was able to contemplate my return without being attached to it.
Oh, I like that. That's a good point. Yeah. Contemplating your return without being affected by it. That's really cool. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very true.
Each separate being in the universe returns to the common source, returning to the source of serenity. Now, that could have meant I was going to die,
Yeah.
and he was okay with that because he knows. Like maybe he was okay with that. Maybe he wasn't. I don't know. Like I could say, I could hope that he was okay with me dying, which is
Yeah.
why he didn't push further to try and change what I was doing. And it is okay that people die. People are going to die.
It's
But
inevitable. We all
right,
are.
but we can contemplate their return, whether that be in life or in death.
That's a good point because when you had first said the whole thing, I had thought more or less like no matter what, in the end, even when we pass away, we'll come back to the Tao. But really, when you had said your story, it's like he was giving you room to find that way yourself in life, which allows you to enjoy the time you have on here, or at least have that peace, that beauty and peace, while you are still here instead of being in the turmoil of addiction. That's pretty huge.
Yeah. And that's us able to be. That's us in this space of being able to be without having to dictate how other people are going to live their lives. So often when we tell people how to do things and what to do, they double down on their shit, and then they go further into the turmoil.
Oh yeah, yeah. Most definitely. I mean, I'm terrible for it. If someone tells me what to do, I'll do the opposite just to annoy
Right.
them.
Just because they think that they can tell you what to do.
Exactly, yep.
Yeah. If you don't realize the source, you stumble in confusion and sorrow. And
It's
that's
true
it. Like,
though.
if we don't, if,
Yeah.
you know, and when that person told me, like, when that person asked me, does this work for you, I started to be able to empty my mind of all the thoughts that were keeping me in sorrow, and I
That's
was
so
able
true,
to
yeah.
open up to a different concept.
Yeah, that's what I love about it. It's sort of like, they say like the teacher teaches you how to get somewhere, where the guru kind of shows you by example in a way. So it's like he kind of lights the way, but you still have to find it that way yourself, and it has to be your decision. I felt kind of like that was what that moment was. Like he just sort of opened your perspective to something other than the pain you were going through, for you to go, oh, and it may not happen the very next day, but it did open. I mean, look at you now. You said
Yeah.
21 years, you
Mhm.
still remember him saying that and what an impact that had on you to lead you in the right direction.
Yeah. And that's and that, being in that right direction, of course it took a long time, but eventually I became, and I hope to be this today. Like, when you realize where you come from, which took me a long time. This isn't something that is just like, oh, I get it and move on. And I think when
Yeah.
people try to get it and then move on, and like, they're too bent on this idea of a destination. It's not a destination. It's a constant journey.
And
When you
that's what I
realize,
love about that. Yeah,
yeah,
enjoy the journey. Don't And I think when we're pushing for that destination, you're really totally you're going in the opposite direction,
right,
really, in a
yeah,
sense.
yeah, because as soon as you have a destination, your mind isn't empty.
Exactly. Yep.
And your heart isn't at peace. Your heart is, I am going somewhere that I am not currently at right now. And that means
Hmm.
your heart is striving to be somewhere that it isn't. When you realize where you come from, so when you realize that you've come from Tao, when you realize that you come from this greater source, you naturally become tolerant, disinterested, amused, kind-hearted as a grandmother, dignified as a king. That person who came up to me and told me about that, they weren't, it, it wasn't like they didn't love me, but they were disinterested in in the answers that I was going to come up with. They were okay with me coming up with the answer that I needed, and they were
Yeah.
disinterested with what I was going to do.
And they were unaffected enough that it didn't affect you in a way other than just opening your mindset to thinking something more than what you had been.
Right, right.
That's really beautiful. That's really cool. Thank you for sharing that with me. I didn't know that about you. That's
Oh,
really
well, of course. Yeah. Yeah, I usually on Tuesdays I do a talk that's titled on recovery, and that's all about recovery, and I talk about what is it we're recovering to beyond what we're recovering from. And I do workshops and other things like that, and I train drug and alcohol rehab counselors and things. So it's a big aspect of the work that I do.
Well, I think that I knew that you did that, and I think that this, to me, that just shows why not just your ability to be unaffected and being in the Tao, but the fact that you do really realize where it is they're coming from, I think is really honorable, that you want to give back and help people. And thanks for having me up here. I appreciate it. I always have fun up here with you.
Oh, wonderful. I'm going to read this last line and then we'll,
Yeah.
we'll wrap it up. Immersed in the wonder of the Tao, you can deal with whatever life brings you. And when death comes, you are ready. And
I
and
like that.
death is
Yeah.
an interesting thing because we can die to our own identity. We can die to who we are at any moment. And that's it's not just about like the physical death. It's like death of our identity. Just like I died
Yes.
an addict and then I died as someone in the space of recovery, and then I died as and I constantly become who I am at this moment.
I was going to say, yeah, a lot of people think that when we're here on earth and affected by our ego, that's true death, and that we wake up when we leave this plane. Hmm.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. Take care.
Absolutely. Thank you. Take care, Ashley.
Bye.
Bye-bye. William Blackfox is joining me, and we'll get another number. Hey, William, how you doing, man?
Good, good. I hadn't been able to, hadn't had time to listen to anything for few days, and I'm like, wow, there you are. I got to listen to you for a while and hear
It's
what
good.
you're saying and enjoying all of it. Man, I'm interested in learning as much as I can. As long as
Yeah.
I'm here, I might as well learn something, right?
That's right. Like every it's like it's so nice to like learn rather than pacify or step away or escape. It's like, oh wait, this feels better. It just feels better. Like
Yeah,
there is a
yeah,
point where it feels good to just kind of sit and absorb it, but the learning, the kind of being, the challenging is like it's that makes life worth it.
yeah, yeah. What can I learn today that I can use to help me to grow or to help someone else to do something if they ask me the question? I go, wait, you know what? I got an answer for you.
That's right.
I heard it.
Yeah,
I
or
heard it
or or
this morning.
I got an answer for me, even.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of times I'm just listening. I'm going, that's the answer I've been. That's what I've been missing. That's the answer for me right there.
Yeah.
And
So,
the recovery talk is always just inspiring.
oh yeah, it is like, yeah, it's
I hate it
we're
when
the
I miss
luckiest, man.
Tuesdays.
We are the luckiest. It's definitely we got we are the ones that get there. So many
Yeah,
people that haven't been through recovery only understand the surface of the things that we understand the depths of.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we laugh at things that would make people cry and just have nightmares. Things that we've been through that we share in a meeting and we laugh about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we
We
understand it.
understand. We understand that there's always a way back.
Yeah, because our mindset is that of aliens. We call them in our meetings. I call them the Earthlings out there. They just don't understand, and we can
Yeah, no,
explain till we blue in the face. But if you haven't been there, you don't know.
that's
It's
right.
like a drunk that came out the bar and they doing road construction. He fell in this big old hole and he's down there and he's yelling, "Help me, get me out of here! Somebody help!" People keep walking by and going back and forth. And finally, all of a sudden, this guy jumps right in there with him and he's drunk off his butt too. And he
Yeah,
goes, "Man, now look what you did. Now we got to get somebody to help both of us." He goes, "No, no, 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 no. I've been here before. I know the way. Follow me."
yeah,
That's how we do it. I've
that's
been there
right.
before. I know the way. Follow me. I know how this deep dark hole is and how to get out
Mm-hmm.
of it. You know.
Yeah. So speaking of the way, you got a number between 1 and 81. Let's look at the Dow.
181, 60.
60. Off we go. This is a
I'll
good
be
one.
60 in October.
Oh, well, October. You got some time. So enjoy 59.
Yeah, yeah.
So okay, governing a large country. Now when we talk about governing in the Dow, I don't know if we've talked about this, but we want to talk about governing the body, governing your friendships, governing your relationships, governing all things. So governing a large country is what it says here, but is like frying a small fish. You
Hmm.
spoil it with too much poking.
Yeah.
Center your country or yourself in the Tao, and evil will have no power. Not that it isn't there, but you'll be able to step out of its way. Give evil nothing to oppose, and it will disappear by itself.
Very interesting.
I like this one because it talks about evil, and a lot of people want to protect themselves from evil, protect themselves from evil. But this one line in here, give evil nothing to oppose.
Yeah, yeah. Don't
I
fight
mean, I've
it. Just
go
leave
on.
it alone. Don't mess with it. It's like, well, my wife, she loves her church and everything. And she's like, you know, if I ain't doing right, the devil ain't going to mess with me. But if I'm doing right, then he's going to mess with me because he doesn't want me to do right. And I go, well, I understand that philosophy. That's cool. I understand that. And
Mm-hmm.
because I like Jesus. He's cool. He had a good message. But I'm traditional Cherokee,
Right.
and I believe in the traditional uh, spirituality of my people. And it took me years to get learned in it and become someone who could pass it on to others and share my experience. like we do in the meetings. We don't
Hmm.
tell anybody what to do. We just share what we've learned and how we've done it. And so that's what I do, what I practice, and my prayer, my meditation, and uh, asking God only for the knowledge of His will for me and the power to carry that out. I didn't do that for a long time. I was afraid He wanted me to be a preacher or something because I grew up in the church and they wanted me to be a preacher, and I was afraid to do that. But after a while, I started doing it, and I found out that God really don't want much from me to do the next right thing. That's it. That's His will for me every day.
Hmm.
But that ain't easy to do because I'm selfish. I want to do the next right thing for me, not the next right thing. Now I'll
Right.
do that if somebody's looking. Oh yeah, I'll do the right thing when somebody's looking. But I have to be able to do it to live where I'm doing it when nobody's looking. Where I'm doing the next right thing just because it is the right thing to do, and that has taken me years to even get close to doing it on a daily basis because it's a daily basis. Some days I just say to hell with it. I'm getting what I need, and I'm going back home. But
Buckle. Yeah.
most days it's not easy, but it's doable. Because the hardest thing to do is the next right thing, and to be honest with people about things. Not then brutally honest where you're going to hurt people's feelings, but to be honest about yourself, and then being honest with yourself. I can convince myself of anything. I'm
Right.
doing the right thing. This is the right thing. This is great. I'm great. I'm wonderful. I can convince myself of anything. But when I look in the mirror, those eyes looking back, they're the windows to the soul, and I see my soul getting cloudy again. I go, okay, come on, go back, make amends, tell them you're sorry. I won't do that again. I don't have many days like that. I do a list every night, and I have very few days in my life now, after almost 30 years, uh,
Yep.
that I have to go back and make amends the next day for something I did or said that just wasn't the right thing. So, but it's all in practice, and you can't have it. Everybody comes in, they want it right now, right away, just like I did. And that's why I'm reflecting on, 30 years in October. And what was it like the first day? What was it like the first year? What was it like the first 5 years? And it's the difference in me. I don't think anybody else has changed that much, but the difference in my change, everybody else seems to be wonderful people. I thought they were all a bunch of assholes. It seems I was wrong.
That's right. That
But
was
when I
that you
changed,
saw
they
everybody
became
as an
nice.
asshole because you were an asshole. Like that
Right.
was why. Like,
When I changed, they became nice, like my parents. I thought they didn't know a damn thing when I left home at 17, joined the army.
yeah.
But when I was 30, they got real smart real fast.
Yeah.
I
That's
didn't.
right.
Wow, how'd y'all get so smart?
That's right. I host the Recover Yourself workshop, and the workshop really kind of focuses on a lot of that. Like you are going to change the people around you when you change.
Yeah,
I was on a flight one day, and I was talking to somebody about what I do and all my recovery stuff, whatever, and he was just like, "Hey, you know, if somebody that you love and care for like wants to stop using, but like, would they be able to like just moderate?" And I was like, "Can people moderate?" And I was like, "Well, yes, people can moderate. The problem is the people that want to moderate are probably not the people that can."
right.
You know, but then I started talking to him about the truth of like, look, if you start to look at the problems that if you start to look at the problems that you are doing, right? If you start to look at the problems that you have with this other person, then you will be able to look at those problems that you have with them with yourself. And if you look at yourself, then I bet you'll start seeing them differently, and their actions that you're judging will actually change. That
Right.
doesn't mean that they're going to go and get help, and that doesn't mean, but you are going to start perceiving it differently, and you're going to want to you're going to want to change them less.
Yeah.
And that's the big goal here. And this is where, like, give evil nothing to oppose. If this guy that was talking to me was talking about his wife, who
Hmm.
was, kind of a lush at the time, I suppose. And And he had a rule that in his mind that she is doing something badly and she doesn't want to ask for help. If he could just recognize in his life where he's not asking for help, he will not have anything that evil, that drinking that she's doing, that he sees as evil, won't have anything to oppose, because he is starting to face it within himself, and
Mm-hmm.
he's starting to embrace it within himself. And then that evil will go away by itself, meaning hopefully that when he allows space for his wife to not feel as if she is evil, or the things that she is doing are evil, then she will, like I said with my recovery, when someone just looked at me and said, "Hey, are you cool? I don't care what you do, but are you cool?" Like, without having that evil, without me being wrong, without me being judged, I was able to eventually find my way to recovery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it took me 5 years of not drinking and being the same dumbass asshole that I was when I was
Yeah,
drinking, not changing.
pissing clean, living dirty.
Yeah, yeah. Just it took me 5 years to say, okay, I've had enough. I need more than this. If this is all I'm getting out of it, then it's not going to do me. I had to get help, get advice, find somebody to talk me through it, explain to me more instead of just bragging about my bright light experience and everything. And that's I mean they had me talking things as soon as I came out of the treatment center.
Yeah,
And I'm like, whoa, all right, I'm a superstar. That's what you got to do, feed my ego, and I'll be your friend forever. But
yeah,
after 5 years, that almost killed me. I was ready to hang myself in the basement. I really was.
yeah.
But I knew I couldn't drink again. That was not a possibility at all. But I couldn't go on living just miserable life with no understanding of how to live without drinking. I've been doing this since I was 15 and stopped when I was 30, and I had no idea what any kind of life without alcohol was. So it's a wonderful thing if you're uh, ready to give up the misery and take on some of the joy that life has to offer, and kind of live with the normals, the earthlings, kind of live with the earthlings without strife and without always being at odds with them and thinking that why do they pick on me?
That's right. That's right. Like, they're. I I talk to people a lot of times about this idea of, like, there are no other people. When you look out at the world, you're just seeing another part of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
you know and it's like, when we look out and we see people judging us, that's because we're judging us. When we look out and see people, like, and that's all that all this is. When governing a small country, it's like frying a small fish. You spoil it with too much poking. Don't poke around so much. Don't try and, like, poke holes in other people's shit, because that's all on you. when
Yeah,
you can get when you can get to a place of just, like leaving it alone and letting these things be, you can center your country in the Tao, and evil will have no power. That means, like all of those bad things that you think are kind of being pushed upon you, that's there's no power there if you center yourself in Tao, if you center yourself in who you are.
yeah,
Once again, it's not that evil doesn't exist, but you'll be able to get out of its way, because
yeah,
you aren't falling for the idea that, like, someone is hurting you, or someone is doing something for you, or against you.
yeah, yeah. I always thought that I could walk by a room with no windows and the doors closed, hear people laughing, and think they were laughing at me.
That's right.
And they didn't even know I was out in the hallway. But in my mind, they were laughing at me because I wasn't right. I was not good enough. I was, didn't belong, and I wanted to, but I didn't. And so I just, said, well, screw them people. They're all crazy and they're all bad and they're all evil, and I'm good. And the truth is that what I don't like in you is what I don't like in myself.
That's right.
And I
Oh,
learned unconditional love from learning how to like myself with my faults and my defects that I will always have. I can't remove them. God will when He sees it's time to remove them. Some of them I may need. I may need to have a little bit of self.
You just dropped. So if you want to come back up, please, we'll just land that really quick. But yeah, give evil nothing to oppose. And you can, and it will disappear by itself.
When I just start turning everything over to the higher power and letting him worry about it, and me go on about doing the next right thing, then people weren't so bad, and I didn't have so much evil in my life, and worried about, afraid of losing things I had or not getting things I wanted. That's my evil right there, is my mind, my fear of losing the things that I have or not getting the things that I want. I had to learn to be grateful every day for what I need, because I have everything I need today. I don't have everything I want, but I have everything that I need. And as long as I keep that mindset, keep that gratitude going, then I don't have problems with the world, and I don't have feel like there's any evil out to get me. I'm not fighting anything, so there's nothing there for evil to mess with.
That's right. Yeah. So beautiful. Yep. And it just disappears by itself, and that's the point here. Give evil nothing to oppose. Once you
Yeah.
recognize your flaws, once you recognize your character defects, once you recognize your shit, then you are, and you don't judge it. You just say, okay, this is here and I see that, and I'm going to, but there's nothing for evil to oppose. You just be present with who you are, how you are, and it will disappear by itself. Thank you so much, William.
Well, thank you. I gotta go walk my little doggy now.
All right, you enjoy that. You guys have a good time.
Oh yeah, that's part of my zen there. I'm walking him, and I'm not thinking about anything but walking him. And I talk to him, and all my neighbors think I'm crazy, so they run inside and lock the doors. But that's
Let
another
him do it.
story.
That is. We'll talk soon,
You have
man.
a great day,
You
my
have a great
friend.
weekend, brother. All right. So we covered 16. William and I covered 60. I am open to have you come up and pick a number between 1 and 81. And if you want, I know I got a couple people through the room. I don't know how many people are here, but if you have a number between 1 and 81 you want to choose, I would love to have you come up. I covered my number today, which is 16, so I got no backup. Means like we're gonna probably end soon. I want to just tell everybody that I do have a workshop coming up on Tuesday, and for the following 2 Tuesdays, so the 7th, 14th, and 21st. It's nice when Tuesdays come on the sevens, because it's always 7, 21, 14, 28. I know those are off the top of my head. But if it's an 8, then I have to be like 8. It's 15, 22. start having to do math in my head. So yeah, my Recover Yourself workshop is all about recovering yourself, recovering to who you are. And when we do that, we start to drop the influence that we carry. We start to drop all of the influences that we've picked up throughout our lives, from our parents to teachers and the education system, the economic system, all of these crazy things. Well, 2 people jumped up real quick. And I think Joseph Mojo came up first, and then Kelly. Kelly, I've had you wait twice this week. I'm so sorry. Hopefully you all is well. Mojo, how are you? You are muted or something. Maybe. I give everybody 30 seconds. Yep, there you are.
Okay.
Birds.
All right.
Man.
How you doing? I'm on the golf course right now, so I'm going to go with number 18.
Number 18. You're on the golf course. Are you just taking a walk, or are you
No,
playing a.
I'm on hole 9 right now.
You're on hole 9. Look at you. All right. When the great Tao is forgotten, goodness and piety appear. When the body's intelligence declines, cleverness and knowledge step forth. When there is no peace in the family, filial piety begins. When the country falls into chaos, patriotism is born.
Oh, hey, Joe. Thanks for the game.
Joe,
Joe?
you are playing golf.
Yes, sir. I just had to say goodbye to my twosome. I'm all right with you now, Martin. Just you and me.
Okay. Yeah. No. 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 I got you.
Okay. Good.
We are on the course right now. This is where we are.
This is where
So
we are. That's right. Love it.
this this, I enjoy this piece because it is all about dissolution of stuff. I don't know what's going on in your day with the golf and other things. Like, this is really early. It's like 6:30 right now. Yeah.
It is, yeah. This is why I get to be in your queue long before you're saying, and now I'm going to wrap it up. Oh, there's Mojo. Just got into the
Oh,
queue.
there's Mojo. Yeah, just got in the queue. Look at
Yeah.
that.
And you
So
could,
you're already on the ninth hole.
yeah, I was here before the sun came up, and there was a couple of elderly gentlemen who are obviously retired and maybe vets who play together regularly. And they said, "You want to join me?" And I said, "Absolutely." And so the clubhouse wasn't even open yet. I have to pay on my way out, but we're here with the birds, and it's overcast but cool. Not even wearing a jacket, and just really enjoying it. So I spent the last 8 holes listening to Daryl and talking with him. And as I told him, and you'll find this fascinating, perhaps, that this is the best round I've had in a long time because I'm not thinking about golf at all. I'm thinking about really deep thoughts and good conversations, and I'm not overthinking anything. I'm just in the moment, enjoying the day, and it's the best golf I've played in who knows how long.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's so important to be able to take your mind out. And that is
Yes,
so Tao. Like, because if you're here thinking about what is going to happen, you
right,
are not here in this moment.
absolutely.
And and being here in this moment, just kind of like dealing with whatever is here, right? Dealing with every step you're taking, keeping your mind on your breath, keeping your mind on this conversation, what have you. Like, all of that is such a such a beautiful thing to just trust. And in this piece we have, when the body's intelligence declines, cleverness and knowledge step forth. Like, this
Mm,
is where if you're clever about your game, if you're knowledgeable about how to play, if you're holding on to all of that information, you're not trusting the body's intelligence, and the body keeps the score. And the body's out here showing you where to go and
there
how
you
to
go.
do it and how to enjoy your time right now in your body.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I'm living proof. I'm walking and enjoying that exact concept in reality right now. And, it's just sort of counterintuitive, right? That if I'm not concentrating on my swing or on the ball or on the hole or the hazards, then how in the world am I going to golf? But it's actually the opposite is true by just enjoying the moment and breathing. And my thoughts are on this conversation that we're having. And so I'm not so caught up in mechanics, or I would say, this is kind of a stretch, but I like this idea. I'm not so concerned about the outcome, right? I'm just enjoying the process. So I'm not even keeping score, right? I didn't even pull the app out that says what the distances are, what hole
Right.
I'm on. I intentionally decided I'm not going to keep score because what the score does, it's a judgment already. Did I do well? Did I not? Did I get
That's
par or
right.
less? Then I'm worried about what's my score overall. So I'm thinking about the future, and it keeps me way out of the moment. So by having these conversations, I'm having the best golf, and I don't know what the score is, but I know it's way better than normal, just because I'm not concerned about any of the outcomes at all. I've let those go.
That's right. And you're just here right now with what is.
Yeah,
And
with
these
my friend.
conversations are ways for you to just distance yourself from this moment. Now, getting to that place where you can, be there without the conversation, that's the next step, right? Like,
Right,
that's
right.
that's when the great Tao is not forgotten, right? Because so when the great Tao is forgotten, goodness and piety appear. Goodness and piety,
Mm,
like, are definitions and ways to be, ways to
yes.
honor your surroundings and ways to honor what it is you're doing. That goodness and piety yield to this idea of, like, the body's intelligence. Like, you are able to embrace, like, the hierarchy of your breath and all of this sort of experience, so that you can be present with Tao.
Yeah.
When the body's intelligence decline, cleverness and knowledge step forward. This is why we keep score. We keep score of things because we have lost faith with the intelligence of the body. We don't
Yes.
trust the body, so we have to keep score. We don't
That's so true.
trust the body. We don't trust the body's intelligence, so we want to remember things.
Ah.
But then, really, trusting the body is like, well, I don't have to remember that until I need it. I don't have to store it, because storing it takes energy, and storing it
Mm,
creates ideas about the future, because it's like, oh, remember when that happened? That
yeah.
wasn't good. I remembered the last time it was cold and overcast and I didn't have a good game.
Yep.
You don't have to, like, there's no reason to be clever or knowledgeable here. You just be here.
Yep. And in fact, those accumulation of memories, which are judgments, can be judgments,
Yep.
that is also clutter. So I think of, a storage on a computer. If you keep too many files, especially the files that you don't no longer need, I think I'm totally guilty of this. Projects that I worked on 10 years ago that there's no way I'll ever want or need them again, but they're taking up room on my hard drive. That's clutter. And eventually I have to purge that, right? So I love this. But so there's two sides to memory here, too. Then there's also a muscle memory that's required in my body that says I can golf. Because if I didn't learn the mechanics, if I didn't practice, if I didn't know how to use a club, or if I didn't know the
Right.
rules of the game, then I can't just show up and say, "Oh, I'm just going to be in the moment and be a golfer." You can't do
No.
that, right? So,
No.
so there's
No.
two things going on. There's the memories of the judgments. Am I doing good or bad? Am I keeping score? What happened last hole, last game? But then there's also the trusting, the intuition, as you're talking about, the body memory that says, "Okay, I know how to do this. I've practiced it. Now let's just enjoy the moment and let the muscle memory kick in, rather than the analytical side of my brain that's telling me all the thousand adjustments I should make with my hands or my body or my whatever, my eyes." Yeah.
It's funny. I was talking to Andy Scarantino the other day, and we were talking about intuitive eating, and
Mm,
she's like, she's a coach, and she talks about health and a lot of things and what have you, and diet culture and all of this stuff. And one of the things that we were talking about is, if your body doesn't have knowledge of healthy food, and you try to intuitively eat, you're going to intuitively eat junk food because you don't
exactly.
have the knowledge of how
Yeah.
to play golf, like you're saying.
Yeah. Look at any teenager; their instincts are telling them the exact wrong thing, right? So
Right.
they haven't gained any mastery over their intuition because they haven't practiced that, right? So it's something that you develop. So I love
Yep.
this tension, this dynamic tension between learning the skills through repetition until it becomes innate and you got this muscle memory, and then you don't have to think about it anymore, which a lot of athletes would say that's flow state, where I was just in the groove, right? And I'm hitting shots without thinking about it at all. Well, for a newbie, that's like, what the hell are you talking about? But for
Right. Of course.
someone that's been there, you're like, yeah, so all those hours in the gym, all those hours on the course, all those hours on the driving range, or all those hours in meditation are now they're kicking in, and I'm no longer having to analyze anything. It's just flowing.
Right. And it's not it's like, you could look at where you're at as a destination, but the thing is you're continuing to learn right now.
Did I send you down, right? Yeah. I'll be in to pay in a second. Okay, cool. Okay, sorry about that. I'm making
No,
sure I
no.
pay
So
because I got on the
so I
course
know
before.
so I know that, like, you're continuing to learn. Like, you're
Yeah,
learning about this state right now through this state that you're in right now.
yeah. In fact, yeah, that's beautiful, John. Because while I was having a conversation with Daryl, which had nothing to do with golf, I was learning not just about what we were talking about, but I was also learning how to not overanalyze my game and enjoy just the
Right.
swing and let muscle memory kick in. So I'm actually learning on multiple levels
Yeah.
without thinking, without striving.
And it's also practice. It's like practice. You're
Yeah,
practicing to not be attached. You're practicing, and just like you said about your game, the more you practice, the better you get.
yeah, absolutely,
And the
yeah,
less you have to think about it, the less you have to be in that.
for sure. Yeah, the word practice is really fascinating to me because at what point are you no longer practicing, but you become the master? Most of the masters that you talk to, they have no idea when that moment happened, right? It wasn't like, okay, 4 years, 8 months, 3 days, I became a master. In fact, most masters don't necessarily even call themselves a master because they are continuing to practice their skill, their mastery, their whatever their abilities are. And so even the masters don't consider themselves the masters because they too are continuously learning.
Yeah.
I
and
love it.
and and it's such a journey, and that's what we're all on. We're on this journey of just learning, increasing our knowledge, and letting it go, like practice. And I remember telling my nephew one time, it's like, what are you practicing? Do you want to, he was in a state of lying all the time, and I was like, well, do you want to be a liar when you get older? And he was like,
Right.
well, no. And I was like, well, maybe you don't want to practice being one.
That's a great. Yeah. So you'll like this illustration. Then I was at a men's breakfast years ago, and Del Harris was the speaker, and he was the coach of the Lakers back in the day. and he'd won championships on every level of his coaching. And he's based the statement that caught us all off guard. He said, "Of all the players I've ever coached over my 45 years in basketball, I've never met a player who practiced free throws as much as Shaquille O'Neal." And we were like, "What? Shaquille O'Neal? He's the worst free throw. His percentage is terrible. People foul him because they know
Yeah.
he's not going to make a free throw." And he says, "Yeah." He says, "So here's the deal: practice does not make perfect. Because
No.
if you practice something wrong, you'll get really, really good at doing it really, really bad." Thus,
Right.
Shaquille O'Neal. He says it's perfect practice that makes perfect, or as Jim Quick would say, practice makes progress. But the
Right.
only way that works is if you're practicing the right thing, right? So
Right.
that's another layer there. Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. So this one finishes off as you know, as we dissolve away from the Tao more, when there's no peace in the family, filial piety begins, which just really kind of states, well, now you're paying lip service to the uh, uh, to the familial hierarchy. So you're
sure.
going to pay
Yeah.
lip service to the governmental hierarchy or whatever, the hierarchy of your community, the hierarchy of your group, and it's like,
Even your boss, same thing.
yep,
Even your boss. Yeah,
absolutely, even your
yeah,
boss.
yeah.
And then when
I
a
agree.
country falls into chaos, patriotism is born.
Mm,
And that's the
yeah.
flag waving, blind following, just not not being critical, not being critical of like, that's just like filial piety, right? Not being critical of the hierarchy, but you're losing more and more and more of that, of you're losing more and more touch with the great Tao, which is
Yeah.
even just trusting the body, trusting this moment, understanding that this is going to bring you to the next place.
Yeah. So I associate patriotism with you go from rules and regulations and laws to ideals, right? Because patriotism is about, I'm going to protect freedom at all costs. I believe in a cause, right? So it's almost like zealousness at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like patriotism when it becomes an us and them mentality, and it becomes a judgment. We're better than you, all that kind of stuff. But the patriotism that says, I'm going to put my life on the line to break down the tyranny of oppression, however you define that, in my country and my community, that kind of patriotism is incredibly powerful, because now you are so committed to an ideal, a cause, that all bets are off. I'll do anything, I'll sacrifice anything because I believe it, not just for me, but for my community, my country, my family, whatever that might be.
Yeah. And in that you will find deep paradox every
So
time,
totally, absolutely,
every
yeah,
time.
every time.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Mojo, good luck with your game today, man. I really,
Thank you,
really
brother.
hope that. I really hope I really hope at the end of the day you feel like, wow, I shot a good game.
I already do. And I'm
Yeah,
not
I
even keeping
love that.
score.
I love that. You enjoy it. Enjoy the overcast, and enjoy the grass, and just
Yeah.
everything that surrounds you.
Thank you, brother. Have a great day.
You too, man. All right. Bringing up Kelly Swenson. Are we out on another hike this morning? And is it overcast where you are?
A lot. It is overcast. It's my favorite. Yes,
Well, you
it's
and Mojo
so
are under the same
perfect.
sky.
Oh, really? Oh, it's so perfect. It's the most perfect. This is my favorite weather across the
Was it
board. The
like
sun is my
60
second.
degrees and overcast?
Yes, yes.
Is it? Oh, wow.
And
Oh,
where I'm
that's
at,
good.
I don't know the temperature because I don't ever look at that sort of thing. Sorry.
Okay. Are you?
Probably
Well, that's fine. Are you?
70 or something.
Okay. Well, if you are you wearing sleeves?
I have sleeves on, yeah, and pants,
Okay. Okay. Well,
fully
then
covered. So
maybe it's maybe it's between 60 and 72 somewhere.
that sounds
65 and
perfectly
72.
accurate. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice crisp morning. It smells good. It's all green and wet.
Mm, there's trees, every kind of tree almost. There's so many different kinds of trees and hills and yeah. And it's
Oh.
and it's foggy. It's like dusky. It's if it was slightly sprinkling, just like that misty kind of sprinkle, then I would just melt. Be perfect.
I do like those mornings. Just like you breathe, and there's just like it's like a morning on the Scottish plains.
Yes. Yes. So good. So everywhere I've ever been with weather, like when it's this kind of weather, it's so memorable. It just like sticks really good. So it's good.
All right. Well, we are
Thank
here
you.
to Tao together. You sound much more relaxed today. Is it because it's Friday?
I don't know. I don't actually know. I'm driving my friend's car all the way to Phoenix after
You're
work,
driving to Phoenix.
picking the children up and then coming back. And I have to be back before 5 p.m. on Sunday. So I'll also have to pack them and do my normal routines of cleaning and
Oh, so you're
whatever I
taking them to
do.
California with you for a while now?
Yeah, yeah. And then I'm going
That's
to be sticking them
good.
in the camper with me. And so they're going to
So
be all,
wait,
because they're all
you'll have do you how many people are going to be in the camper?
three,
Three
like
total.
pretty, yeah.
So you're bringing so Maddox isn't coming.
No, just Holland and Monet.
Just
Yeah,
Holland and Monet. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good.
So
That's
there's
good.
not like a lot of relaxed going on. I think
Yeah, no,
it's
that's
just the
not.
weather.
Yeah. And enjoy
Yeah.
it. Enjoy it. So you got a lot of driving this weekend.
Yeah, and then you have to time it perfectly because you can't leave or enter Los Angeles at specific times a day. It has to be like 4 a.m. or like 7 p.m. That's it.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
And
otherwise
you only
you're just gonna
well
sit.
the 4 like I think you have from 4 a.m. to like 11 a.m. That's a nice broad window of no traffic or very little traffic because I don't think people get up very early. I remember driving around LA when I was down there and it was like, oh, I can get around until noon. Like once noon comes, everyone's going to lunch and I'm fucked. I just can't do it.
But not on the freeway in and out. Like that's like it's like you'll just sit in traffic. If you hit it at certain times of day, you just sit.
Mm,
You'll spend 3 hours sitting when you could have just slept in and left a different time. Like
yeah, I get that.
so,
It's
yeah.
a tough yeah, you got to manage that. All right. So do we
That's
have a
the thing.
number for today?
Um, 72. Did
72.
you just do that one? No, you didn't, did
Did
you?
not do 72. I mean, I think
Okay.
I have done 72 recently. When they lose their sense of awe, people turn to religion. When they no longer trust themselves, they begin to depend upon authority. Therefore, the master steps back so that people won't be confused. He teaches without teaching, so that people will have nothing to learn.
I did this one recently. That's why.
What did you do recently?
This number.
You did do this number recently.
Yes.
Well, let's
Must
look
be
at a
something
different
to it.
translation. Let's just look at a
Okay.
different translation. Is that okay?
Mhm.
All right. So 72 by Isabel Mears. If the people do not dread majesty, wow, that's a hell of a line. If the people do not dread majesty, then great majesty will come to them. Let them guard the innermost of their dwellings. Let them press towards the innermost of their life. The master indeed is not bound. That is why he is not bound. Oh, Isabel, that is how that is how the self-controlled man knows the self and perceives the not self. He loves the self and honors the not self. Therefore, he passes away from the latter and takes hold of the former.
I love her. I love
Yeah.
her. She's so flamboyant, but perfect with it. It's so. I'm smiling at it as well. As
Okay. So this
Isabella.
one sounds so much different than the other one.
Yes.
Right. I mean,
Yes.
maybe it even has different meanings. So let's look at this. Let's start looking at this. Like, if the people do not dread majesty, then great majesty will come to them.
What is majesty?
Majesty.
Hmm,
Majesty is
majestic.
like is that.
Oh, I don't want to cut you off. It's just
No,
it's
no, no,
when
no.
something's great, when something's big, when something's really like just like huge and grand, right? Like and kind of dominant.
Well, majesty, I think, is something a little bit more mystical.
Mm.
I think it might be like majesty, royal power, impressive stateliness, dignity, or beauty.
Ooh,
That's what.
so when you don't dread being seen, you don't dread like maybe taking the role of being seen, of being experienced. This is actually really relevant for me. When you
Hmm.
like when you're when you're totally okay with being at the head of the line or in charge or the leader or visible or on stage.
Yeah, like if you and it's interesting they use the word dread, right? If people do not dread majesty, if people do not dread being seen, let's like use that. If people do not dread being seen, they don't focus on it. They don't focus on like it's almost inconsequential. It's not that they want it. They don't dread it. Right? They're not trying to move towards it. They're just allowing it to be. It's like whether or not majesty is in their life, it's not a problem. So because they don't dread it, once again, they're not trying to get it, but they don't dread it. Then great majesty will come to them. They will be able to understand great majesty. They will be able to understand being seen, and maybe great majesty is even deeper than that. Even deeper. It's like understanding the whole that is being seen through you, because you are the Tao as well.
Yeah. It's yeah. It's just like centering and peace. So it's like when you don't like run from your authenticity, when you don't run from it, when you're not like afraid of it, you don't dread it, then you will have a peaceful, authentic place that you'll be in.
Mm-hmm. And that will come to you, right? Like, so then it goes, let them guard the innermost of their dwellings, and let them press
Hmm.
towards the innermost of their life.
That's a hard one, actually.
Let them guard the innermost of their dwellings. Does that mean like their house? Like could that mean their house? Like let them like lock their front door, but when they are looking at the innermost of their life, which is the innermost of who they are pressing inward constantly. So is this about the external and internal? Let them guard the
is pressing
innermost of their
inward
dwelling.
good?
Let
I
them
would say pressing
press
inward or.
let them
Oh, go
press
ahead.
towards the innermost of their life.
Mm. So it would be a good thing because it would be like really connecting deeply with yourself, knowing you.
Mm-hmm.
I guess guard would be just like not allowing other influences,
Right. And
not
this is what
allowing.
Dr. Rao's always telling me about. Like, don't let others influence you.
Yeah. I'm on my coyote spot in
And
this thing.
stay in the innermost of your life. Stay within yourself. Don't let others influence you, and stay within yourself.
Yeah.
The master indeed is not bound. That is why he is not bound. That's a bit like the master indeed is not bound. That is why he is not bound.
Indeed, his actions, right? So,
Indeed, that's one word, but
mm,
I guess it could be indeed in his actions. The master is not bound in his actions. That's why he's not bound in his life. That's like
yeah.
if you make plans and are unable to sway from those plans, then you're bound by those plans. Thus, you're bound by the idea that you said something before, and you're not bound by who you were 6 hours ago. You're who you are now. I could buy that.
You can buy that. Yeah. Yes. It makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
does that then relate to the innermost dwellings and the innermost life? Yes, I think so, because like it is about like moment to moment being present. Does that
I think
revolve around if the people do not dread majesty, then great majesty will come to them? If the people do not dread majesty, then great majesty will come to them. The master indeed
mm,
is not bound. That is why he
so
is
that
not.
people don't dread you if you were the master. Like the people
Maybe.
should not dread you.
Right. If you like it, if right, okay, so if the people do not dread the master, then the master will come to them. Like that's just the abstract concept of the master, maybe.
Mm.
Let them guard their innermost dwellings. Let the people guard their house and stuff, but trust that they're going to press toward their inner life by doing that. Like, let them lock their doors. If they don't dread the master will come to them. Let them today lock their doors and press inward to themselves, because that's how the master will show themselves in their life as themselves. The master indeed is not bound. He's not bound away from each and every one of us, even if we are bound to our things or the physical world. That is why he is not bound. He is indeed not bound. And so he's not bound away from the people who are locking their doors and guarding their innermost dwellings. I
I just
don't
had this
know.
image of like the
Yeah.
master, like the people being, it's like we're each two separate entities and
Yeah.
we try to bring them together into one. So we are the master and we are the
The
people,
people.
and then
Yep.
Tao is when they're both of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That is how the self controlled man knows the self and perceives the not self. You know the self, the big S self, and you perceive the not self. You perceive the body. You perceive this mortal world. He loves the self and honors the not self. He honors the fact that we're faulty. He honors the fact that we only can achieve so much in this body. Therefore, he passes away from the latter and takes hold of the former, and that's death. Therefore, he passes away from the latter, the not self. You pass away from the not self, and you take hold of the former. It
Which
is
is
this
this.
paradox that's dying. That's dying to be at one with the Tao again.
Hmm.
And maybe that's just dying as identity, but I think that therefore he passes away because he knows that there's separation. You just cut out. You can just come back up if you want to finish this. Otherwise, we can leave it there. You will come back up. Good. If the people do not dread mastery, then great majesty. If the people do not dread majesty, then great majesty will come to them. If you don't dread the majesty that's within you, then the majesty that's within you will open up. Until that happens, let them guard the innermost of their dwellings. Let them guard the innermost of their dwellings. I don't know if that necessarily means house, but their stuff. Until that happens, let them guard their stuff, but let them press toward the things that are important in life, their innermost of their life.
Don't try to force your teaching on other people.
Right. Yes.
Hmm.
Let them guard, let them do what they do. That's cool. Like, but let them in their own way press towards the innermost of their life. The master is not bound by this, and the master is within each of us. So they can do what they want, and the master is still within them. That is why he is not bound, and is not bound to be only in the hands of the master. He's bound to be in the hands of all of the people.
Because it's literally like you're on your journey, right? Like you have to figure it out. Like this is
That's right.
whatever you came into this life for. So
That's right.
it's absolutely just about like you'll get there in your own time or you won't, but that is your own time no matter what.
That's
And
right.
like the master will be there waiting to be like a part of
Master.
you whenever you are willing to do so or
That
ready.
is how the self-controlled man knows the self. The self-controlled man knows the self by having gone
Mm,
through this.
it's total duality. Yeah.
Yeah. And perceives the not self. So the self-controlled man knows the self because he's perceived all of this. He sees it and he's experienced it, but he perceives the not self. He perceives the thing that is greater than all of it.
You could write a fiction book on this one verse.
He
Yeah.
loves the self, and he loves all of this action, all of this life, all of the money, all of the work, all of the sweat, all of the tears, all of the feelings. He loves it. He loves this self, this body, this self that we all carry, and honors the not self. Through that, through being who we are honoring the highest form of Tao. Therefore, he
Yeah.
passes away. He is ready for death. Therefore, he passes away from the latter. He passes away from the not self. Or he passes away, from the not self and takes hold of the former, which is the self. You take hold of this life. You live this life in this body. And you let go of this idea that there is something bigger. You let go and you just trust that it's bringing you there. Whoa, that's good.
Mm-hmm. This is a good one.
So I'm going to reread Stephen Mitchell. And we're gonna
I feel a little bad for Stephen Mitchell right now, but go ahead.
because like when they lose their sense of awe, people turn to religion. When they no longer trust themselves, they begin to depend upon authority. Therefore, the master steps back so people won't be confused. He teaches without teaching, and people will have nothing to learn.
Yes, it gets a lot deeper with hers. Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. I can see where he came up with his. But this this took a lot more work.
It's good though. It was really
Yeah,
good.
very good. Very good. Very nice. Therefore, he passes away from the latter and takes hold of the former.
It's
Kelly,
just authenticity and just not at all. Don't force it. Just allow
just
it to be,
allow.
right?
Yeah, you can't avoid the Tao from working its way through you. So just be here. Don't think about it.
You already are the master. Just allow it to
You are the master.
push
Yep, that's right. And the master will find its way. It's not bound by your mind. It's not bound by anything.
Hmm.
Well, I hope all of your driving goes smoothly this weekend.
Thanks. Me too. Me too.
And I will. And I am taking a weekend break from
The world.
wisdom. Yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna be stepping away, but we'll be in touch. And and once again, drive safe. And
Thanks.
my best to you and the kids, and hopefully everybody enjoys the trailer.
And hopefully you enjoy the trailer, your weekend as well. Thank you very
I
much.
shall. All right. Have a great one.
You too.
Love you. Bye bye. Okay. Well, that seems like a good place to end as any. If anybody wants to step up, definitely you can. But I am going to be checking out. I want you guys to know that I have workshops, and if you enjoy and are benefiting from the work that I do, definitely taking Dr. Goodman. Dr. Goodman's going to come up. We'll pick a number and we'll see what he has to bring to the table.
Hey man, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, good. Let's go with 65.
60,
I will be 65 this year.
65. Off we go to 65. All right, I'm just taking a note. Number 65. The ancient masters didn't try to educate the people, but kindly taught them to not know. When they think that they know the answer, people are difficult to guide. When they know that they know, people can find their own way. When they know that they don't know, people can find their own way. My apologies. If you want to learn how to govern, avoid being clever or rich. The simplest pattern is the clearest. Content with an ordinary life, you can show all people the way back to their own true nature. That's 65.
Wow.
I know you're
My,
writing a book these days. Is that right?
yeah, that's right.
That's
I'm
right.
committed.
So let's look at all this. Like, content with an ordinary life, you can show all people the way back to their true nature. What are your thoughts?
Sticking with the basics and being willing to learn, even though you do know, is being willing to unlearn to relearn.
Yeah. When they think they know the answer, people are difficult to guide.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I always have that. Uh, I have it on my website actually. Learn, unlearn, and relearn.
Yeah.
Okay.
The ancient masters didn't try to educate the people, but kindly taught the people to not know. That's so, like all this
When
questioning.
yeah, when the vice principal said to another teacher in when I went when we integrate, I was getting off the bus and she said, "Why integrate? The black's going to amount to nothing."
Mm.
So yeah, that was like more determination for me because of my upbringing, and my uncle will always come over there and say, "A penny for your thought," you
Mm.
know, and that just like encouraged me to go forward, and like now I think about them things on uh, what is really prejudice, racist, and who else, and the closest person to you could hate you the most.
It's true. And when someone hates you, when somebody they already know. They already
Yeah,
have an answer. They already know that this is bad or this they don't like this or whatever. And that's why the master doesn't try to educate the people on anything. Just if I can show you, if I can prove to you that you don't know, then I'm doing the best thing. You don't know the answer. Like I know I'm guilty of wanting to know the answer sometimes, but it's like the more I don't know, the better I can approach every situation, and I can approach it with an open heart, and I can approach it with an open mind. The 65 continues to say when they think that they know the answer, people are difficult to guide. But when they know that they don't know, people can easily find their own way. You don't have to guide them. That's the thing. Like once people know that they don't know, you don't have to guide them anywhere. You just let them find their own way. But if they think that they know, they become difficult to guide. And so, like, if we look at politics right now, if you think you know that the Republicans are right, or if you think you know that the Democrats are right, well then you become difficult to guide. Now all of a sudden you think you know the answer, and that's one way of doing things. But that's not necessarily the way that things should be done. You just think you know the way that it should be done.
right. Cause my cousin, he came. We was really close, and he's asked me a question, and I said, "I'm the one dyslexic, and everybody always asking me what's the answer is." And he said, "Well, I must be dyslexic too, cause I sure don't know."
No,
Yeah,
but it's so good. It's like we in our world we have this kind of penchant to want to know. We look
that's
things up, we email, we ask people, we go to Google, we do all of this stuff just so that we can pretend to know.
right. So I mean, and it does feel good to me to okay, I know what's 1 and 1, 1 plus 1, but someone else talking about 1 plus 1, they might have a different viewpoint why they're using 1 plus 1.
Right.
So it's don't assume they are saying it for what you thinking. So
Right.
yes, I got that right.
If you want to learn how to govern, avoid being clever or rich. And govern is just, you know, leading people in any way, or even your body. You stop
Mm,
trying to be clever. Stop
right.
trying to be smart. Just the simple pattern is the clearest. Just be simple. Simple in your thoughts, simple in your actions. Don't try to be clever. Don't try to manipulate. Don't try to change people. Just be simple. Be a simple pattern in the world. Content with an ordinary life, you can show all people the way back to their own true nature. You don't have to have extravagancies. You don't have to be smart. You don't have to be anything. You just be here. And by being here, you will show everybody back to their own true nature, and they will find it themselves. You don't have to guide them. The ancient masters didn't try to educate the people, they just kindly taught them to not know. Content with an ordinary life, they show the people the way back to their own true nature.
Yes, and that's sticking with the basics.
Yep. Basic, simple patterning. Just do what you do. You do your gardening, you write your book, you spend time in your garden, spend time with your neighbor. Be here, be simple, be present.
Right. Yeah. Somebody like last night, Denise and I was writing on the book, and then I said, I'm getting sleepy. These words starting to go together.
Yeah.
Uh, and so she said, okay, well then let's do one more. Well, okay. She said, "You tired, huh?" I said, "Yes, I'm really tired. And I appreciate that you want to keep going. And I acknowledge you for just supporting me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the name of the book is Unaware of Your Awareness.
That's beautiful. And that's a big problem in the world today.
It sure is.
You know,
Yeah,
like people just don't have enough awareness to be able to let go, and they want to know all the answers. The more you know, the less aware you are, because you're not aware of what's happening, but you know what's going to happen, and that's unfortunate.
that's right. You know, but you get to learn both ways.
Oh
And that's
yeah, like
nice.
that's what Kelly and I were talking about, the idea that you can't stop yourself from moving towards being a master.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Yes, thank you. I was just going to say the same thing, man. No,
Absolutely.
that was good. Yes.
It was a
No.
good one. It was a
Yeah.
good one. Well, you have a
Yeah.
wonderful weekend. We'll be in touch.
Okay. You too, man.
All right.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today for Tao of the Day. I'm Martin John. You're going to want to check out my links if you are benefiting from my work. I take tips through Venmo at @MartinJohn_Garcia. You can also set up Dr. Rao. Here we are. We're going to just about to end out, but I'm not going to leave Dr. Rao in the lurch. What's going on, my bro?
Hi, Martin. Just
Hello,
saying
my friend.
hi.
Good. That's all. I'm really glad. I'm gonna be taking the weekend off of wisdom, so I'm glad that we got a chance to chat and say hello.
Yeah. You remember that retreat I did? You know.
Yes.
Um, so uh, basically, where they are, even to look at it for some time, it's difficult.
Yes.
Uh, and uh, having a occasion where they can look at what's going on
Yeah.
inside, what's happening, and also we don't have to be judgmental. But I discovered that we need to. first make understanding and then make that understanding come into reality, like a real in our life, is a very, very long process, really, you know.
Yeah.
And then at least taking the time to get off their regular whatever doing was also difficult, because they always want to reach out for the phone and then do that, you see.
Yeah.
So I have more framework now of how I'm going to do this with more people, you know.
Good.
So that was the good thing. Anyway, I just popped up just to say hi to you, and we'll talk more about it on Monday. Okay?
Yes, sounds good. And like always, anytime
Yeah.
we'll
I
be in
would
touch.
like
We'll be
I
in
would
touch.
like to come to the pre of the retreat. I'm going to present to many of my friends. This is what I'm going to do. What do you think? Could you use yourself, or do you have people you want to refer that they could use, that kind of thing? But then giving the more structure that I came out with, that will be good also for people to just listen, I think.
Yeah, I think it's
I
good.
will,
It's always good to just like
yeah,
share, just share.
yeah,
That's all.
yeah.
That's beautiful.
I'm going to send you that Zoom link when it happens, and if you
Yes,
have time, you can come. Okay.
always, always, always want to support what's going on. So
All
thank you
right,
so
Martin.
much.
Let
Okay,
you
have a
go.
wonderful weekend. My
Yeah.
best to your family. We'll be in touch.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay, so that was Dr. Rao. Definitely follow Dr. Rao. Wonderful. If you like what I do, you're gonna love what he does. And I can't imagine if you like what I do, you're already not following Dr. Rao. But thank you so much to Ashley and William, Mojo, Kelly, and Dr. Goodman for coming up and sharing the Tao with me. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you, for just being here with me and spending a little time talking about the Tao. I hope it's been helpful for you. And once again, if you are new to my channel, check out my links and reach out to me. DM me if you want to have a conversation. I can conversations with me can be pretty intense. So I would love to sit down and talk about things. Give me a call and reach out when you are ready. I'm Martin John, host of the Recover Yourself podcast and this, the Tao of the Day. Until next time, keep recovering yourself.